What's up, A to Z Sports Live on this Thursday. Glad to have everybody along talking DeAndre Hopkins once again because it's DeAndre Hopkins week as we're still waiting for the team to announce the official signing of DeAndre Hopkins to the Tennessee Titans. But we all know that this is going to happen, and they're working on some final details as we were able to break that story on Sunday and continuing to unpack storylines and angles throughout the rest of the week here live on A to Z Sports in the morning. Also, Buck Rising talking a lot of DeAndre Hopkins and on A to Z Sports primetime in the evenings as well. So, hey, happy birthday to Buck Rising. I know that's a big deal for him. And this is the big 3-0 for Buck. He sounded like he's been 40 for a long time, but he's actually just turning 30 today. So if you want to go spam Buck Rising in his Twitter mentions to tell him happy birthday, I'm sure he would love it, actually. So don't do that. He'll make too much out of it. But anyway, talking DeAndre Hopkins today, the ultimate winner in the Titans landing DeAndre Hopkins, or winners, plural. So we'll talk about that. And also the biggest loser on the Titans roster after they signed DeAndre Hopkins, because I do think that is going to be an interesting conversation. Who is the biggest loser in DeAndre Hopkins joining the Titans? And then, Sam, it is the Magic Bucket on a Thursday. I'm guessing since you're back from St. Pete, you do have the Magic Bucket in your presence.
I do have the Magic Bucket ready to go. Are we doing two polls today?
No,
I know people were kind of.
No. We don't have enough slips in there to do.
That's true.
That's the problem. That's the problem. So we're gonna have a big time show on this Thursday. Glad to have everybody along. So Sam, let's get this thing started. Tell the people what they got to do for us.
Hey, ready to go here on a Thursday morning. Before we kick things off, make sure you share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button on the bottom right. If you're watching on YouTube, take that YouTube link and send it to a friend. Send it into a group chat. Find a football fan, an NFL fan, a Titans fan that is in your life, and share the love. Make sure they know A to Z Sports is live. Make sure they know who A to Z Sports is, and try and introduce them to the family. That's the best way to support us. It's the best way to keep growing the community and have even better conversations every morning. That's why we want as many people in here as possible. We want you guys being vocal in the chat, letting us know your thoughts and your feelings at all times. So make sure you do that before we kick things off here on a Thursday.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome to the A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter at A2ZSports.com. We go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Nashville's on-demand sports talk network. Also hit us up on Twitter at A2Z Sports for all of our segment-by-segment tweets throughout the show, and also great content covering the Titans on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads these days. Gotta thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Like Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process by seeing them in Lebanon or wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That means better coverage rates and service at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, keeping you safe online, and use our 2-week free trial with our link, aura.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 locations across the mid-state in Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro, online at KrebsKubota.com. So, Sam, we've been saving this topic for really since we knew that DeAndre Hopkins was going to sign a couple days before he did sign. So, let's walk back through. We were kind of having a pre-show conversation about the way we got here and looking back on things. And the Titans do land DeAndre Hopkins in free agency on Sunday, July 16th, which is a very rare random time to land a significant free agent in the NFL. But this is it just overall, the timeline of things is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was not too unexpected. Like, I think we joked a few weeks back, like, oh, watch DeAndre Hopkins sign while I'm in Florida at one point. Like, he won't wait for right before training camp, and he won't do it soon when we're, rearing and itching for a show topic here. No, he's going to do it right when I'm busy. So yeah, you had sent me a text while I was down vacationing in St. Pete and getting on all of my St. Pete Sam shenanigans, and just let me know, hey, head on a swivel here, 48-hour watch set to 72-hour watch, but DeAndre Hopkins to the Titans looks like a thing. And so, I started thinking about what ways, what angles we could talk about this, whose perspective we could look at this signing from. And I really started to think back to the Titans offseason, which was one that was heavy on criticism for Mike Vrabel, for Rand Carthon, and for the Titans offseason approach as a whole. They didn't really add much talent in free agency at wide receiver. They got Chris Moore, but lost Robert Woods. So pretty even trade-off. Maybe even they got the short-ended stick there,
or the better ended.
We'll see
Because of the money situation, right?
I mean, that's really a toss-up. But contract-wise, Chris Moore's on a better contract, so they saved some money. Colton Dowell in the 7th round didn't do anything for anybody, and really the story of the draft was, okay, Peter Skoronski's cool, Will Levis is cool, we're happy about this. Where's the wide receiver? They didn't do one until the 7th round. And I was looking back to the post-draft press conference where Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon took a lot of heat from Titans media, myself included, was very critical of their approach. And I found some quotes that I thought were really, really interesting in hindsight, listening to almost how well Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon predicted the future for what would happen for the Titans down the stretch.
Yeah, so let's play that video from Vrabel, Rand Carthon, and Chad Brinker. Sam, was this after Saturday's draft?
This video is with Chad Brinker. It's the final day of the draft. So It's after Saturday. This is after everything wrapped up, and they did take Colton Dowell. This is after our waving to the camera during the draft moment, and because I was sitting in St. Thomas Sports Park on day 2 of the draft. Actually, I drove to St. Thomas Sports Park on day 2 because I was sitting on here with you during a stream. And when they took Tajay Spears in the 3rd round, I think I said to you, hey, do I have enough time to get over there for this press conference? Because I've got some questions I need answered. The next day we're sitting there, no receivers throughout the time. And I'm sitting in the media room and we're all looking at each other like, are they trolling at this point? Like, what is going on? And then when they answer the heat, the answer is pretty perfect looking back now.
For the things you've talked about the wide receiving core, is that enough turnover to get out of that group, what you've talked about?
Going into Monday, it will be. Yeah, and we're going to continue to explore and find ways to improve our roster and make it as competitive as possible. So
that last part kind of goes back to the previous question. You're going to find ways to improve your roster. Free agency's over and the draft's over. Aren't those the places to improve your roster?
Free agency's not. They're going to let us sign free agents Monday. They will. Chad will. Rand will. They'll let us sign free agents on Monday. Free agency is going to go all the way up until the season starts. There'll be players that are on other teams that will become available Monday. Take a look. It'll be real large waiver wire. We'll scour that. We'll continue to look for trade possibilities and opportunities. Chad and Vin will help us with the salary cap, find ways to open up salaries so that we can potentially sign other players. There's been a pretty good process here, and I'm excited about it.
Austin, your reaction to that? I mean, this is not the only comment. This is just one of a few. Rand Carthon also said stuff along the lines of, well, the roster doesn't have to be at 53 until September. There's going to be other opportunities. And so it felt like, at least from that interview, the Titans had a pretty good idea about somebody of DeAndre Hopkins' caliber or at that position becoming available that they could take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, in hindsight, Mike Vrabel sounds like he just dunked all over the Titans media who was bitching about this, right? Yeah. Like my immediate takeaway is exactly that. Is like, oh my gosh, Mike Vrabel's brilliant. He knew exactly what was coming. They played this perfectly, but he just held us all on a thread and just let us stress it out over the entire summer, and boom, there you go. So like I do find that really fascinating. But if Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon were just sitting there, all right, fingers crossed, that's DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to play in Arizona next year. So hopefully at some point we can maybe trade for him, or they're going to cut him. But, fingers crossed, and maybe that could happen. Like, that is a big time risk. And that
Called their buddy Monty Ossenfort and said, "Hey, Monty, what are you feeling with number 10 over there? Is he going to become available, you think?"
Yeah, like that's just not a smart way. It's gambling. Like, that is not a smart way to do business. It can be a fun thing to do on the side, but gambling with your roster moves and potential big moves is a thing. So I don't think it was a smart way to go about it. If that's
Well, listen, I think there's another side of that though, which is what have we talked about with Hopkins since he signed and when evaluating his contract and why the Titans got him for the value they got him? It's because a lot of rosters and resources are already expended this time of year. So if the Titans made other moves, whether that be in free agency or in a trade or moving on guys earlier, do they have the same resources they had available to be as aggressive as they were for D-Hop in case he became available? So I think there is some of that too, where the gamble that they made and the waiting game that they played at the position is what allowed them to get him for so cheap and what got them great value in the contract as well, that they don't get in April, that they don't get in May, and that they definitely don't get if they are trading for, a bona fide player as well.
Yeah. Now, Stephen King comes in here and says, Austin, you promote gambling. Yeah. I was like an entertainment side thing. I'm not saying you put your
sports gambling, not
you put your
gambling with your
livelihood.
sport.
Yeah. Like, this is Rand Carthon's livelihood. This is Mike Vrabel's livelihood. You don't gamble that away. And that's also why we have the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. So we got all that kind of stuff and resources for that. So you do it smart, right? And you don't gamble with more than you can't afford to lose. And the Titans, that's kind of like the gambling rule of thumb. Like, don't bet more than you're afraid to lose. And so, if the Titans were afraid to lose out on the wide receiver position as a whole, and that was going to be something to hold them back in this season, then okay, then that was a gamble there worth taking with DeAndre Hopkins. So, all right. So, and Orlando also says, don't gamble on sports you play. Yes. And don't do it at your workplace if you play professional sports. Orlando, good point. There you go. And Curtis C says, gamble smart is an oxymoron. No, you can gamble smart. Doesn't mean you're going to win. It just means that you can lose some good bets, which happens all the time to me, right? That's how you spin the losses. All right. So let's get to this.
Hang on. Lose some good bets.
Yeah, you can lose good bets. We'll talk about that later on. There's good bets lose at times. Stuff happens.
We'll talk about that during BetMGM later.
For sure. All right. So Sam, let's ask this question. We'll play the video again because I think the video is very interesting. So the question that we came up with, and I think we came up with this on Sunday, right? Did Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon, quote, call their shot, or did they get lucky with DeAndre Hopkins? Did they call their shot, or did they get lucky with DeAndre Hopkins? We'll play the video one more time, but first, Sam, tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute is the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. They're located out in Franklin, and you can schedule an appointment with them at boneandjointtn.org. The Bone and Joint Institute has everything you need to help assist in your recovery, including a state-of-the-art rehab facility and everything under one roof. Nothing worse than when you've got appointments and you're getting treatment and care for something and you feel like you're driving all over the place, all over Middle Tennessee, to go from appointment A to appointment B to get different things done. You can just go to the Bone and Joint Institute. They've got everything on the same campus, including clinic, image, rehab, surgery, testing. It's all there out in Franklin. They'll do everything that they can with as reliable care as there is, as reliable as it gets. It's why we love the Bone and Joint Institute, why I've said multiple times that I see people walking around with Bone and Joint Institute slings, including the voice of the Titans, Mike Keith. Like, we love the Bone and Joint Institute, and you will too. If you schedule an appointment with them, go to boneandjointtn.org for the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care.
Speaking of sports betting smart, here's how you sports bet smart. You get multiple shots at it because you do that with BetMGM when you have our first bet offer with our bonus code ATOZ Sports. So you get multiple swings at going after the prize because you make your first bet after you sign up with BetMGM with our code ATOZ Sports, and you get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if that first bet misses. It's a great way to start your BetMGM career and have fun with that. So that's with bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up for the BetMGM app. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualifications and other requirements. First online rule money wager. Only rewards issued at knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem game of sport, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. So Sam, we're going to play the video one more time. And so as everybody's watching and listening to this video, think of the question we have presented to everybody. Did Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon call their shot, or did they get lucky with DeAndre Hopkins? Here's from the post-draft press conference with the head coach, the GM, and Chad Brinker, the assistant GM.
For the things you've talked about the wide receiving core, is that enough turnover to get out of that group? What you've talked about?
Going into Monday, it will be. Yeah, and we're going to continue to explore and find ways to improve our roster and make it as competitive as possible. So
that last part kind of goes back to the previous question. You can find ways to improve your roster. Free agency's over and the draft's over. Aren't those the places to improve your
free
roster?
agency's not. They're going to let us sign free agents Monday. They will. Chad will. Rand will. They'll let us sign free agents on Monday. Free agency is going to go all the way up until the season starts. There'll be players that are on other teams that will become available Monday. Take a look. It'll be real large waiver wire. We'll scour that. We'll continue to look for trade possibilities and opportunities. Chad and Vin will help us with the salary cap, find ways to open up salaries so that we can potentially sign other players. There's been a pretty good process here, and I'm excited about it.
Is that not exactly what happened, though?
Yeah, it is. It is.
They're getting creative with salaries, too, especially with this George Fant story developing a little bit. And, he's coming in this weekend. They signed him. That's like, they're already out of cap space.
Yeah.
So, like,
and by the way, on the George Fant thing, if you flash back, Sam, to Monday, you remember what I said Monday on the show about a potential Titans offensive lineman?
Yeah.
So hold on. You can read about it at ATOZsports.com. But and then what happened yesterday when Jordan Schultz tweeted that George Fant was going to work out? What did I say?
Well, George Fant.
I said can confirm per source. You can add that in your post. So I had that since Monday that George Fant was going to be working out with the Titans. Just didn't have the opportunity to do anything with it until Jordan Schultz throws it out there. So yeah, that's been in the works for several days.
I hope that signing happens. I want to ask Rand the timeline there because George Fant was tweeting Sunday saying all the Titans have to do is call. Be interested to me to see if they saw that. We're like, not a bad
I'll tell you
idea.
what. Yeah, the call was made before the tweet. I'll just go ahead and tell you that ahead of time. That's what I know. The call to George Fant was made before he tweeted. Yeah, I'll just give me a shout.
Disingenuous tweet from George Fant. I'm a thumbs down. I don't appreciate that.
All right, so the comment there from Vrabel, because I think it's amazing to listen to, almost 3 months later, right? 3 months later is where we're almost approaching from the draft, I guess. And then so the question we're asking is, did Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon call their shot, or did they get lucky with DeAndre Hopkins? So Sam, I'll send you the chat on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch to see what everybody's saying about did they call their shot or get lucky with D-Hop.
Let's see. All right. Den thinks they got lucky. Jonathan says it was lucky. Ronnie lucky. Steven lucky. Jay lucky. Titans Kyle says he thinks they called it. Lewis says it was lucky. Scary Harry says they got lucky. Rooney says lucky. MB says big time lucky. Stephen King says they called their luck, which I think is an interesting perspective on this. Called their luck. They got lucky, says Jackson. Called the big shot, says Pistol Ramsey. Daryl says lucky. Tighten up lucky. Richie lucky. Pedro lucky. Captain Tripp says it was obviously the plan all along. called their shot. They had some inside information, says Jonathan, maybe referring to the Arizona Cardinals general manager there, which could be. I don't really know how those relationships work. If Monty Ossenfort would tip his hand like that to another team, I'm not sure. Brad Anderson says they got lucky. Jason Martinez says lucky, but I do believe they had a plan. Danny says he thinks they called their shot, at least wants to believe that they called their shot.
Yeah,
same
right.
with Joey, same with Billy. Two-Man Heath says he thinks it was also strategic. Jay says it was lucky. Ramad says both. Lewis says lucky, but he's glad that they got lucky. And Tiffany, what did Tiffany say? Oh, I guess she's not responding to that. Whatever. She says they knew what they were doing. So she's coming in with the called their shot as well. Austin, which one sticks out to you here? Is this a call of their shot? Is this a Babe Ruth pointing at the sky with
my favorite,
is this just lucky here?
My favorite comment of the show so far is Jabu saying they called their shot, but they hit it off the backboard. Like that's exactly what it is. It's, you're out there again, the basketball analogies.
Oh, like they didn't call bank.
Yeah, you pull up from like 2 feet behind the 3-point line. You catch it in rhythm. You fire up the shot. You think it feels good. You start to turn to go down to the defensive end, and it banks in. You're like, yep, exactly. I knew that was going to happen the whole time.
Yeah.
So, like, no, you didn't call bank my ass.
Pointed at the floor, poined where they were going to shoot from, pulled up, and then accidentally banked it in and said,
exactly.
Oh, okay.
That is the best comment I've seen. Like Jabu's comment honestly puts my entire feeling into one sentence. They called their shot, but just drilled it off the backboard. Hey, but it went in, right? Like, so it still counts 3 points on the scoreboard, and DeAndre Hopkins is still a Tennessee Titan. Yeah, they absolutely look. They weren't dumb. Like they know that players, yes, will become available at a certain point throughout the offseason. They've had this several times. Like, again, I talked about this, I think last week. There's always something over the summer that dominates the Titans conversation from a storyline. Sometimes it is an acquisition in the middle of the summer. 2 years ago, it was Julio Jones via trade. So there was an opportunity there the Titans were able to try to take advantage of. If you remember back to 2017, going back in the vault here, in 2017, the Titans were in a similar situation at wide receiver. Like, you let Kendall Wright walk. You didn't really have much. You had Rashard Matthews, who was coming off of a good year, but you didn't have a lot behind him. And then mid to late June, former Pro Bowler Eric Decker becomes available, and they sign him. And he came in for a visit in minicamp, and they signed him later on. And now here we are, 6 years later from that, with Julio in between. And they did that. And they also have done things, of course, the years on the defensive side of the ball, like Kenny Vaccaro gets signed and became a key part of the roster, for a few years after an August injury to Jonathan Cyprien. You've got Jadeveon Clowney joining the roster. Now, some of them worked out, some of them didn't. Eric Decker caught a touchdown pass in the playoffs, but he dropped a lot of passes in that regular season, and he was only here for 1 year. Jadeveon Clowney did not work out. Kenny Vaccaro absolutely did. And then, what will DeAndre Hopkins be? So, yeah, like Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon, like, yes, they understand that opportunities do present themselves over the summer. But I keep going back to Mike Giannetti's comment of Spotrac saying that the most guaranteed money signed to a player after Memorial Day is $9 million, and DeAndre Hopkins is getting $12 million up to $15 million in the first year after that point. And so DeAndre Hopkins is an outlier. So did Vrabel and Rand think they could get somebody to help their roster? Sure. Did they think they were going to get DeAndre Hopkins? I don't know about that. So my official answer, Sam, is more luck than called their shot. So I side with they got lucky.
Well, I think D is saying here, like, one thing D's saying here too is that they knew their market. So is that part of they were aware of that $9 million statistic and knew, hey, we can probably afford whoever becomes available, given the track record of what kind of guarantees are in store for those players. I hear what you're saying. I like the bank shot analogy because I do think it's pretty accurate. Like, I'm not sure the Titans called their shot, and those comments from Mike Vrabel that we heard is him specifically insinuating DeAndre Hopkins, right? Like he's not sitting there being like, yeah, just wait until you see who comes available that we go get. Like that's not what he's doing. He is referring to players becoming available as a whole. And at the time, I thought it was referring to Corey Davis more than it was referring to somebody like DeAndre Hopkins. So there's going to be more guys that become available. But I do think this is more of a calling their shot because the Titans stuck to their guns in the draft and in free agency. It's something that you've heard Mike and Rand both talk a lot about over this offseason since they've been working together. And, you know, we kind of made fun of them for it at the time. This whole like, well, we're going to stick to our board and play our board thing. And, you know, one of the reasons they didn't go get a receiver in the draft is they felt like they were going to have to come off their board a little bit too much. And, you know, while everybody else is sitting there pointing to need and saying, well, hey, you've got a position of need here that you have to address. I think the Titans felt very, very confident all along that they were going to be able to get a very good, impactful wide receiver that improved their receiving room at this point in free agency. I think it's why you hear Mike Vrabel make those comments with such confidence. So was it a direct reference to DeAndre Hopkins? Probably not. But I also want to keep in mind that these guys know who the candidates are. I think a lot of times fans will look at, well, maybe we can get somebody who's cut, who's out there. And you're like, oh, maybe Corey Davis. Why? Because the Jets have a loaded wide receiver room. Go get this person. Why? Because of whatever other reason. But I think the Titans, it is their job as a front office, are very well plugged into the dynamics around the league and what players might become available. And as we've seen, the Titans have a very firm mindset about what players fit into their vision. I'll also remind you, Austin, this is something we saw Rand do a lot of in San Francisco. Like he did not play frequently in the top of the free agent market. He always looked for value. And a lot of times, as we've mentioned, you can get value late. So I think the Titans called their shot here. I don't think it was a specific full court heave of, DeAndre Hopkins in free agency. But I think they had a really, really good idea about these kind of opportunities becoming available and positioned themselves to have the financial flexibility to be the most aggressive suitor.
Yeah, A to Z Sports here live on this Thursday. Jabu asks, Austin, does that count as the love of the show? Love of the show is not my thing. That is Zach's thing. I do not give out the love of the show, but Jabu, if Zach were here, I think Zach would love that.
If we were giving out a love of the show.
Look, honestly, I might text that to our guy, Jake, our social manager, and say, hey, Jake, can you make a graphic of this? And so I think it's that good of a, they called their shot, but they drilled it off the backboard. I mean, it's so good. It's so fun of an analogy on what they're doing because it does have the right levels of both answers. Like they knew what they were doing. They had some ideas. Did they think it was going to land DeAndre Hopkins? Probably not, but it still counts in a way.
I'm not sure that I would go that strong, though, is to say that they didn't think it could land DeAndre Hopkins. I think they had a pretty good idea that a guy like that would become available and that they would be in a good position to go get him. Like, I never got the sense at all during the offseason that the Titans were worried about the wide receiving room. And that was weird considering the talent that they had in the receiving
the lack
room.
of, yeah.
So I think that they were pretty confident. And like I said, it is their job to be aware of what players are potentially going to become available and to be making those phone calls and to be in contact with said players. And so I don't think it was a specific reference to DeAndre Hopkins, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were having conversations at that point in the offseason already about, circle this name. Let's keep an eye on that name and make sure that we're well positioned if he becomes available.
Fair. So let's play it one more time because I think I saw Aaron said, what was the video? I missed it. Just got here. So we'll play it one more time. And then I have a part of Vrabel's answer that we can pick apart a little bit more to kind of go deeper to what you just said there, Sam, about having some idea that it could have been for DeAndre Hopkins. So here is the clip one more time from the post-draft presser.
For the things you've talked about the wide receiving core, is that enough turnover to get out of that group? What you've talked about?
Going into Monday, it will be. Yeah, and we're going to continue to explore and find ways to improve our roster and make it as competitive as possible. So
that last part kind of goes back to the previous question. You're going to find ways to improve your roster. Free agency's over and the draft's over. Aren't those the places to improve your
free
roster?
agency's not. They're going to let us sign free agents Monday. They will. Chad will. Rand will. They'll let us sign free agents on Monday. Free agency is going to go all the way up until the season starts. There'll be players that are on other teams that will become available Monday. Take a look. It'll be real large waiver wire. We'll scour that. We'll continue to look for trade possibilities and opportunities. Chad and Vin will help us with the salary cap, find ways to open up salaries so that we can potentially sign other players. There's been a pretty good process here, and I'm excited about it.
God, there's just there's a level of smugness to that answer. Like him and Rand, you watch carefully. Both of them let out like a smile at one point where they're like, while the question's getting asked, you see Vrabel turn off and smile a little bit, and then right when Mike says free agents, they're going to let us sign free agents on Monday. I see Rand crack a little bit of a smile, kind of I think appreciating his head coach's your witty response there. So,
all right, so I'm going to diagnose the deep angles of this because what I heard from Vrabel that made me think, yeah, D-Hop is an option. The part that could have been about DeAndre Hopkins, and then the part where both Vrabel and Paul Kaharski were wrong. So I'll tell you that here in a second. But first, Krebs Kubota, you're never wrong if you go to Krebs Kubota because you're going to get some pretty good experience there with what you're looking for any of your equipment needs. Krebs Kubota, they are an elite Kubota dealer in the Middle Tennessee area with 3 great locations in Murfreesboro, Franklin, and Columbia. Online, KrebsKubota.com. If you're looking for equipment, the Kubota line, it's the best line in the industry. There's no other company, no other line that is producing the type of equipment that Kubota has, nor the type of warranties that Kubota gives you with your equipment. Why is the warranty important? Because what are you doing with this equipment? You're like drilling into the planet Earth. You're doing things to the outside. You're out there in the outdoors making a mess of stuff and using a lot of force, a lot of energy. So things are going to break. So you got to have the best warranties in the business. And that is where Kubota comes in, and the best customer service in the business to help you make sure you can do all of that seamlessly and stress-free. That's where Krebs comes to play. They've been doing it for 18 plus years across the Middle Tennessee area. They've got you covered. An outstanding customer service department. I talked to Jamie and Matt myself. I'm actually going to plan on heading back out there once training camp gets rolling to touch base with those guys. Big time Titans fans. I'm sure they're stoked about D-Hop, but check them out online or their 3 locations. Once again, Murfreesboro, Franklin, and Columbia, or online, KrebsKubota.com.
Can't go wrong with Krebs Kubota, and you really can't go wrong with BetMGM, because if you are wrong, you're getting your money back in the form of a bonus bet if you use the bonus code ATOZ Sports on the King of Sportsbooks. Place that first wager with that bonus code ATOZ Sports, and even if you're wrong, even if your bet loses, you're getting that money back in the form of a bonus bet up to $1,000. That's the best way to do sports gambling. Even if you place these alleged good bets that lose, it's money back into your account and another chance to win big with BetMGM. King of Sportsbooks, make every game mean more at BetMGM.com.
Real quick, an example of a good bet that loses. So I don't know if you guys know, but our girl Grace Remington has been doing some great bets on our social media. She did it throughout the spring. She'll get back into it as the NFL approaches, where she does that, hands out some good picks. She works for CBS Sportsline, but does that for A to Z Sports and BetMGM. Here's a good bet that lost, and I remember this really strongly. She picked the Vols under in the first half for a game in February. It was like 61.5. Well, you know what? A late ticky-tack foul and a free throw that made it 62. It was a good bet. It was a smart bet, but it lost.
You're just referring to bad beats then.
No, those are good bets. Like, bad beats can be good bets. They're good bets, but they lost, and that happens, and you go, bummer, and then you move on to the next one. But Grace,
you just go, bummer.
I mean, yeah, because again, I'm
I,
not betting
I
my
placed a bad beat the
livelihood.
other day. I was doing a little bit more than bummer. I had the 4-leg parlay riding on a player to hit a home run, a player prop. He got robbed.
See,
He
that's
literally
why.
got
Yes,
robbed in
that's
the
why
eighth
you
inning.
because you're doing all these 4-leg
It was,
parlays.
it was a good bet. It was a
Hey, it's a
really
good bet. Yeah, no, parlays are not good bets. Parlays are lottery
good bet.
tickets. All right, so real quick, back on this, Jonathan asked, who was the ultimate winner? Traylon Burks, who is the biggest loser? We'll talk about the biggest loser coming up, but the ultimate winner is Mike Vrabel and is Rand Carthon because they're over here dunking on the Titans media for this comment that we've been playing throughout the show of, yeah, they know that they're going to be able to go get players and the roster's not done until September. And so they win by landing DeAndre Hopkins, and now the Titans should have expectations for the playoffs, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, next week as well as we get closer and training camp opens. But so here's the words that I heard Mike Vrabel say that made me think that they knew DeAndre Hopkins could be an option. It was the fact that we can still sign free agents and that players on teams are going to get cut, and there's options and opportunities for trades. And so we know the Titans were calling Monty Ossenfort, new GM of the Cardinals, former front office exec with the Titans. We knew conversations were back and forth. Buck Rising broke in early April that the Titans were interested in moving up to 3, and that was with the Cardinals. They moved up to get Will Levis in the second round with the Arizona Cardinals. And so there was a lot of conversations back and forth. So, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins and could have been said to Vrabel and Rand this offseason by Ossenfort, we're going to try to trade him. If we can't try to trade him by X date, then we're going to cut him. And I think that's logic too.
Yeah, or I mean, you don't even have to have that said to you. You're Mike Vrabel or Rand Carthon. You've been doing this long enough that you're able to infer what teams do when they owe a player $20 million that they're looking to trade and can't trade when they have the worst roster in the NFL. And that's like the reality of what Monty Ossenfort's situation was in Arizona, that he got a bad roster with a good player that nobody really had interest in trading for that was making $20 million. That's a guy that you cut for cap savings. And so if you're able to infer that, you're able to assume that he will become available. And like you said, I mean, there was even a draft day rumor that DeAndre Hopkins was involved in the trade, like the trade talks between the Titans and Cardinals to move up to number 3.
If CJ Stroud was
was available. And, you know, we've been over this countless times. The Texans took CJ Stroud. That ended all possibility of the Titans jumping up in the first round. But yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic that, just very interesting to me because I think they were able to infer this based on context clues, which is why I think I give them a little bit more credit.
Yeah. Section 240 on YouTube, who I believe is our guy Bonafide Bro on Twitter, who listed A to Z as a top Twitter account. A guy's got to re-rank that and actually put him in order because he just did them in no particular order. But
yeah,
he says,
you guys were really curious about that. You wanted to know where the order was.
Yeah, I wanted to know because look, Bonafide Bro's been hanging out watching A to Z stuff for a long, long time. So, but he says ultimate winner is Tim Kelly. Yep, it's him. I know it's you. Yeah, I think Tim Kelly's definitely a winner in this. So, but ultimate winners. There's a long list of winners.
I mean, if you're Todd Downing, though, you're sitting back going, where's my DeAndre Hopkins? Why didn't I have a DeAndre Hopkins to throw the ball?
You did, Julio.
You
did, Julio. You did, Julio.
Yeah, Julio was hurt the whole time.
No, yeah. Hold on. Play 1, January 22nd, the first damn snap of the game. You threw the ball to Julio, but you didn't have a route on the opposite side of the field to make Jesse Bates stay honest. And Todd Downing, you ruined that. Todd Downing, you did have it in Julio and AJ, and you blew it. So I don't want to hear
AJ got traded from him. So
well, that's not his fault, but still. So okay, so there's a long list of winners in this. Tim Kelly's one, but I think ultimately Vrabel and Rand are big time winners because of what it allowed them to do. They were kind of riding that fence. We're talking about having their cake and eating it too, all off season on are you rebuilding or are you trying to win? Well, now their opportunity to do both just increased significantly with Diop. So they're the winners. But obviously Ryan Tannehill's a big winner because he's in a contract year and now he's got D-Hop to go along with Burks, Chig, Phillips, and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's a winner too, because now there's less 9-man boxes. And then I think Jody nailed it too. The fans won. And hell, A to Z won. Paul Kaharski won. Buck wins. The Zone wins. Teresa Walker wins. Tehran, Terry. Every Titans media member also wins with all of this is too. So I think that's the fun part of it, is there's a lot of winners in this. But real quick, where Mike Vrabel was wrong, and also where Paul Kaharski was wrong, because Paul messed up by saying free agency is over.
Yeah.
Right now, free agency is not over. The main, biggest, impactful free agency wave was over. Wave 1, wave 2 was done. We all know there's a third wave, and D-Hop is the biggest third wave free agent in a long time in the NFL. And then where Mike Vrabel was wrong by saying Monday, the waiver wire is going to be pretty big. Monday, the waiver wire, I think was it 0?
I remember when he said that originally, and that's why this quote was fresh on my mind. Is I remember I was tweeting and I reported, hey, Mike Vrabel just said the Titans are going to be active on the waiver wire on Monday, assuming there'd be guys available. I was very curious to see kind of who was going to get thrown out there and what the Titans did. And I remember thinking to myself, not many guys on the waiver wire Monday like Mike Vrabel thought there would be, huh?
I think there were maybe 2.
Yeah.
Over the entire league. I think there were 2 guys that were on the waiver wire. Ronnie also says Traylon Burks is a big winner as well. So all right, Sam, let's think about this, because we just listed all the winners in this, because I think D-Hop is a winner, right? Because he gets the money, he gets the most money he wanted, plus the familiarity with the offensive coordinator, the head coach, and the star running back. Tannehill's a winner. The head coach, the GM, the OC, they're winners. Burks is a winner. Chig's a winner. I think the offensive line is a winner too, because now you can just throw it to D-Hop and not have to block very long. The defense, as some of you guys have pointed out, the defense, Mr. Jones, the defense is the biggest winner. Yeah, Big Jeff and his crew with KB and everybody, they're a winner here. So a lot of people on the Titans roster are winners. Fans are winners. Media winners. Who's the biggest loser? Who is the biggest loser? And not the Jags. We're not talking about, we're saying on the Titans roster. We're going to make this real interesting. Who is the biggest loser on the Titans roster after landing DeAndre Hopkins? So we're going to get to that here in a second. But first, hey, you can be a big winner and save money by losing your old health coverage and going with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Farm Bureau Health Plans is where to go. FBHP.com/ATOZ. Zach has saved 20% on his health coverage, and he's gotten better rates. He actually gets reimbursements for his contacts. He gets to go to the dentist and get those teeth cleanings a couple times a year automatically included, where his old health plan as a entrepreneur, single at the time, self-employed person, that's a lot of money. I lived that life for a short time. It's a lot of out of pocket right there for your health coverage if you're not with somebody like Farm Bureau Health Plans, and they've been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years. So you can plan on them for all of your health coverage, whether it's overall or dental or vision or anything in between. If you're a young professional trying to enter an opportunity to have great health coverage, Farm Bureau Health Plans can help you out. Maybe your mom, your dad, your grandparents are looking for that next level health coverage as they mature in their life. Farm Bureau Health Plans, brilliant when it comes to that as well for senior citizens. So check them out online, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code on your screen, ATOZ Sports, when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Whatever that first wager you place is, if you lose, no worries. You're getting your money back in the form of a bonus bet. With that bonus code, it's ATOZ Sports. That's ATOZ Sports to make every game and every play mean more with the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM.
All right, Sam. So the question now, we just talked about all the winners. In my opinion, the ultimate winners, the title of today's show, Vrabel and Carthon. The biggest loser on the Titans roster after landing DeAndre Hopkins is who? And I'll have you go to the chat first.
Yeah, listen, Mr. Jones says the Patriots. Again, we're looking for somebody on the roster. It would have been, I don't think there's many losers on the Titans roster, which is what makes this a fascinating conversation. But yeah, you can't say the Jags, the Patriots, the AFC South, any of that. We need a Titans player. Ramad says NWI. Section 240 says Mason Kinsey. Max is NWI. Same with Sean and Nick and Chris and Maserati Mac. Scott says NWI. Matt says NWI. Austin Bond says it's the UDFA wide receivers that we're trying to fight for a roster spot. We've got Dankins that says NWI. Darius is NWI. Danny says NWI. Let's see. We got Chris Moore from Richie. Derrick Henry from Pistol Ramsey for less carries. Will Levis for Mr. Jones. Right. This is interesting.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
We about to expand on Will Levis?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What do
I
you
can
think?
see this argument, and I think it's a win for Will Levis, and I've been very, loud about how much I like the 2-year deal, because if Will Levis takes over next year, having DeAndre Hopkins is a win for him.
I agree.
Spin zone. Does having DeAndre Hopkins mean Ryan Tannehill and the Titans are even better and he gets less opportunity this year?
It's a really good conversation. And that is, we've hinted, Sam, at our list of like 7 or 8 topics that we had. Ryan Tannehill is one of those that we have not gotten to yet. And we will get to. And I find that interesting. So I don't want to give too much.
Better Ryan Tannehill and better Titans is bad news for Will Levis as an individual. Now, he would never be rooting for bad Ryan Tannehill or bad Titans. But he is more inclined to get opportunity if Ryan Tannehill is not as successful. If he has a huge year and the Titans have a huge year, that could muddy the waters for Will Levis's future a little bit. Interesting conversation.
It is. Mr. Jones, that is, I will say, you've been watching our show for a long time. You comment often. That is one of your better comments.
Yep.
There you go,
Ryan says it's NWI. Jonathan says it's Racy McMath. Andre says Chris Moore. Kenneth Davidson says NWI. Ronnie says Racy McMath. We got Mason Kinsey, NWI. John argues Treylon Burks. Now, this is another one that I think has some nuance to it.
Yeah.
I think it's a positive for Treylon Burks. I think learning from DeAndre Hopkins, having a second weapon at wide receiver on the field at the same time as him will give him more one-on-ones, will just open up doors for him to have a big year. There is the idea, I guess, that Treylon Burks is no longer the wide receiver 1, which is a step down for him and from the opportunity he was going to get. But I think it's a positive more than anything for Treylon.
I agree. I think it's a big time positive for Treylon Burks because, that was one of DeAndre Hopkins' tweets during this free agent process was, I promise wherever I go, I'm going to make your job, my teammates' jobs easier. And I think that hits Treylon Burks right there, square in the hand. So, Sam, do you want to go first or me go? Because I have a coin flip. I think it's up to a coin flip of 2 players that are the biggest losers. And I have the side of the coin that I like.
Yeah, I am also a coin flip.
Okay.
I think there's 2. So I don't think it's NWI.
Okay. Is he on one of your coin sides? Is he on the coin?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he's the biggest loser. I think when I look at this, I look at whose opportunity is this going to affect most. And I think NWI is what he is. I don't think his pass catching opportunities or snaps are going to be impacted by DeAndre Hopkins because what Nick Westbrook-Akine does is very different, and his role within this Titans offense is very specific to him. I don't really think there's a replacement for Nick Westbrook-Akine on this roster right now. So he's not going to be a prolific pass catcher this year. He's not going to get a ton of targets, but you're going to see him on the field when the situation calls for him to be on the field. And I don't think that was going to change whether D-Hop is on this team or not. My coin flip is actually between 2. I almost want to say Kyle Phillips because I think DeAndre Hopkins had his highest usage rate in the slot last season.
And Tim Kelly did that a lot in Houston. Tim Kelly did that a lot. He did that a lot in
Houston. He's been primarily an outside guy. And the only reason I think I'm going to say Kyle Phillips. I want to say Chris Moore, but I think Kyle Phillips inside, if that's where DeAndre Hopkins works primarily under Tim Kelly, not that it will eliminate Phillips from the offense, but it might limit how often you see him have plays drawn up for him out of the slot. Like the Titans drew some stuff up for Phillips early in the season last year. They were very intentional about doing that during training camp. So I'll say Kyle Phillips. I think he had a pretty clear spot to be the wide receiver 2 or 3 on this team. And I think that's less certain now. Everybody else, I feel like their role has been pretty consistent and will be consistent. I almost said Chris Moore, like I said, because if Hopkins goes outside, Phillips is your slot, then Chris Moore's the one that gets cut out. But I think the slot might be the more prevalent spot for him. So I don't know.
Ooh, that's interesting. So I did not have either Kyle Phillips or Chris Moore on my coin that I was flipping. So I think the Kyle Phillips thing is interesting. I think he is. So you were saying you think Kyle Phillips had an opportunity to be the second wide receiver, as in like most targeted, most targeted receiver.
I think before DeAndre Hopkins signed, Kyle Phillips was going to get the second most targets of any receiver on the team. And I think
that's a fair take.
Yeah. And now it's not like, I still view him as like the third most prolific wide receiver, the third best wide receiver on the team. But if what DeAndre Hopkins does best is also what Kyle Phillips does best, will the Titans find a way to work them both on the field? Maybe, but I just think it muddies the situation a little bit. And Phillips could lose out on what I said, which are like designed plays and opportunities for him, because Hopkins has a more prominent role as a slot guy.
No, totally fair take. So your guys is the biggest loser because they're losing their
I think
role.
There has to be some drop off. Yeah. NWY is not losing snaps. I don't think because of this. I don't think Mason Kinsey's losing snaps because of this. I think those guys, like their role on the team was going to be what it was going to be, regardless of Hopkins or not. Now, I think there could be somebody that maybe loses a roster spot, but even if
that's what I'm going with. I've got a coin flip of losing their job. So I think I've got my biggest loser in this loses their job, not their role. So I'll tell you that here in a second, but Aura can keep you safe online. They'll lose all those data brokers from your life, because data brokers take your information and share it and sell it to robocallers and spammers and telemarketers and junk mailers, and just pester you from every aspect of your digital life. Well, Aura keeps you safe online. They automatically submit you out of those lists on your behalf. They did it for me. I signed up with Aura back in April. They found 30 data brokers were sharing my information. They got rid of all that in 6 days. And if you sign up right now with our link, aura.com/ATOZ, you will get a 2-week free trial. And so you can get rid of those data brokers in a really short period of time with aura.com/ATOZ, and then start to set up your other features, because password manager and protection is a big deal there too. If they have a password that leaks from a data breach, Aura will notify you. They'll say, hey, your Facebook password has been leaked potentially. You might want to change it now. And you go, oh, cool. Thanks, Aura. And you go change it and you move on with your life and feel comfortable. Aura is so easy to use. It's so like, you download it, you sign up, use our link, aura.com/ATOZ. Once you get it set up, you don't touch it, because they'll let you know if something happens, and then it just sits there on your phone and it's protecting you in the background while you go about your life. Aura is great. So once again, a 2-week free trial with our link, aura.com/ATOZ.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code on your screen, ATOZ Sports, when you sign up with BetMGM. Place your first wager, and even if the bet loses, you get up to $1,000 back in the form of a bonus bet. It's the best way to do sports gambling when the risk is limited, and you can get your money back with a second chance to win big. Get with the king of sportsbooks. It's BetMGM and BetMGM.com, and make sure you use the bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, so Sam, I think the biggest loser in the Titans landing DeAndre Hopkins is a coin flip between two guys who I think are probably at the top of the list of potentially could lose their jobs because DeAndre Hopkins is with the Titans. Those are two receivers, Nick Westbrook-Akine and Racey McMath. So why do I think NWY is a potential risk to lose his job? Because of his contract situation. So the deal is a 1-year deal for NWY, and then he's an unrestricted free agent. Racey McMath is a 6th-round pick going into his third year of his contract. And so who is the better special teams player of the two? That will win the job, because NWI is a free agent after this year. Racey McMath, you have the ability to keep as a cheap 4th-year, 6th-round pick to have on your roster and to have a special teams impact for multiple years. You also know Racey McMath has a higher ceiling as a deep threat down the field. In NWI, he's been around. You know what he is. You know what he isn't. But you do have the ability of a raw, physically gifted player in Racey McMath, cheap for 2 years versus NWI for 1 year. And so I think NWI is not completely safe here. And I think it would be a mistake for him to think he is. And I'm not saying he is. I think NWI, because of Chris Moore and because of Racey McMath's ability to play special teams, I think NWI is kind of like a soggy receiver here. He's just not very impressive, and you've got guys that can do his roles better than him potentially. So I think it's NWI.
I disagree. I think
Okay.
he's safe, and I don't think you have somebody who does his role better than him. Now, the
Really?
value of his role is limited, which is a block-first wide receiver that knows where to be and can set up for run schemes. But the Titans value that, and NWI is the best one you have. It's why he, tried to kind of dip his toes in the water of free agency and very quickly found out there really wasn't a lot of interest or, a market for him other than what he's got here in Tennessee, because this is a team that values that and a team that values him. I don't think that would be on the table. I would be surprised. I'd be very, very surprised if Nick Westbrook-Ikhine didn't have a role on this Titans team this year. When you go out and run schemes and you're trying to run a screen, when you're trying to run different things like that, NWI can be the first guy you want to put on the field because you know that he knows where to be, can block well.
Yeah.
Racey McMath can't really do any of those things. So unless you're taking away your best blocking wide receiver for a gunner, NWI is safe. I don't think the Titans take away their best blocking wide receiver for a gunner.
I think before D-Hop before he was coming to Nashville, I thought NWI was one of the safest guys on the team. But now this gives Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker an opportunity to say, let's have the ability to look multiple years, and how can you continue to develop your receiver position to where you've got somebody next year that can help you in multiple ways. NWI
is going to have to take a massive step forward.
For sure. And for NWI to get cut, Racey McMath's going to have to be really good, and Chris Moore is going to have to be really good.
He's on the same contract,
right?
Pretty much. Moore, 1 year, $1 million for Chris Moore.
The difference in Chris Moore and NWI is if you cut Chris Moore, you save $92,000. If you cut NWI, you save over $800,000. So that's where Chris Moore's got the advantage here, and because he's had production in the passing game. NWI is not going to be here next year. There is no point in signing NWI back again on another 1-year deal. If you do, then it's your fault for not having somebody else cheaper and better. I think
Racey McMath has to do a lot as a receiver in camp and preseason games to make the Titans feel like he's a legitimate deep threat and a legitimate player that you can throw into a game down the field. I mean, he's got 3 career catches, 2 career catches, whatever it is.
Yeah, but what's the role you're talking about, right? Because you want Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins to be on the field as much as possible, right? And then you're going to have Chris Moore, who's been around and been productive in spots, be there, and Kyle Phillips. So that's 4 receivers that should be getting more.
My argument would be, why do you need a deep threat then? Why do you need
It's about keeping the developmental prospect around to see what they turn into and moving on from the guy that you believe has mostly met his ceiling. That's and is in the last year.
I don't know,
That's
man.
how I'm
I
playing
mean,
this.
we had Cody Hollister getting snaps last year because he was reliable and could block.
And
NWI
healthy.
does those things better than Cody Hollister.
Yes,
So.
but Cody Hollister's no longer here. He's
Well,
alive,
yeah.
but he's just no
That's
longer
why
on the team.
NWI's filled that role now.
I'm playing this game as I'm trying to figure out if I were trying to build multi-year roster construction and I have to cut somebody and it comes down to NWI or Racing McMath. With the other guys, I think NWI has now become expendable. And Racing McMath has a
I
higher
disagree with that a lot.
athletic upside, and you got him for 2 years.
He's also got injury history and is the least proven wide receiver that you've got in your room.
Yeah, but you're not trying to this is your fifth receiver at best. And so
your fifth receiver, you're one injury away from having to play them regularly. And if I'm the Titans, I want that fifth guy that I might have to play after one injury to be somebody who's been on the field, been in games, knows where to be, does the job correctly, can block, and sets you up to at least have a safety net for injury. That's why you keep NWI. I don't know. We'll see. I'd be very, very shocked.
I just think it's a multi-year opportunity for Racy when, I'll say it again, if NWI is back on this roster in 2024, the Titans have mismanaged their receiver position again.
Fair. I can hear that one.
All
so
right. You ready for Magic Bucket?
Yeah,
Magic Bucket time here on the show. Let's get this puppy rolling here with a Magic Bucket. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process by going and seeing our friends Payne Bone and his team in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Sam, we've got the Magic Bucket here on a Thursday. We will start now to say we need help. We need help from you guys to send us DMs. The best way to do that is via Twitter. That's Instagram too. Twitter and Instagram DMs to help us refill the Magic Bucket because we're getting low. The season's approaching, and it's great to have a fresh bucket of slips of punishments and embarrassing things for us to do as we start the year. So
are we doing completely fresh for training camp?
We'll have to sift because I'm sure there's some in there that have never been pulled before.
Maybe.
So we'll have to do some homework on that. But we need help before we can start making the switch over. So, and again, you have to know that it's not something that we're not going to eat peppers. We're not going to do the one chip challenge. I outlawed that. It's got to be something that we can execute here in the show with what we have going on. So we need some new stuff. So hit us up on our Twitter and Instagram DMs for the Magic Bucket. We need some help. So with that said, Sam, I will let you go ahead and pull for me. I'll take the first one.
All right, here we go.
No more spicy stuff.
Make a fart noise with your mouth. I had to do this a couple weeks ago. Have you done this? No?
All right. I have not done this.
That was good. That was really good.
Thank you. I've had lots of practice making fart noises.
I've never heard somebody go to a fart noise with their mouth and go for the high fart noise before.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best unexpected.
That was impressive. I'm surprised by that. Look at you. You just nailed that. Wow, easy. 15-second Magic Bucket. All right, here's me. I've already done this. Thank you. I hate this.
What was it?
It's the sexy voice one.
It's the worst. You can trash that one. We've all done that one. So you can just leave that out.
Zach had to do it for the first time, I think, with me on the show a month ago. I think I've done this too. 30 seconds on the clock. How much of the alphabet can you say backwards?
I don't remember you doing that.
I think
Zach has done it. I have done it. Maybe it was when Zach was on. I don't remember that.
I mean, I can do it if we think I haven't done it. I
don't remember
doing this, but
no, you've done alphabet fast forward. You've done
maybe that was it.
I don't think you've done backwards alphabet.
Okay. Let's
Hold
do
on.
it then.
So I gotta get my stopwatch out. All right. So backwards alphabet, you have 30 seconds to get as far as you can.
Okay.
So I will start when you say the letter Z.
All right. ZYXWTUVSRQPONMLKFGEDCBA.
You did really good. That was 17
I think I
seconds.
missed J though.
You missed J.
Yeah, I did miss J. Well, close enough. I should have taken my time at the end there. I knew I had time.
I think
But
you
that's-
did mess up VUT as well. Oh, you also forgot J, G, and H. And you did
No,
VU.
I said H and G. VUT, yeah, it's backwards. It goes WSTUV. So I said
Multiple
it.
people are saying that you said TUV.
ZYXWVUT or K. Yeah, and then it's J, which is what I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. You went to KF. So you did skip JIHG. Yeah, you skipped JIHG.
Wow, that's a big miss.
And everybody's
I did
saying
not
you
say
said
TUV. I'm gonna go
TUV.
back and pull the clip. I did not say TUV.
Everybody's saying you said TUV.
Well, I'm pretty sure everybody's wrong.
TUV. I mean, that's a lot of
TUT.
TUV. I know, TUV. So, are you going to go back and do it right now in live time?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to do that.
I don't know how that would work.
It was a good effort. I mean, let's say you missed 4-ish.
I don't know if I've ever done the alphabet backwards before.
I find it fun. But anyway, hey, it was a pretty good job.
You don't really think that way.
Yeah.
It's the song. The song gets in your head and you get in that little bit of a rhythm and it's like.
Yep. Yeah, I like that exercise. All right. Good stuff. Make sure you hit us in the DMs on Twitter and Instagram for more Magic Bucket submissions because we need to freshen that thing up for the season. But make sure you hit that like button before you head out of here. Give us the thumbs up. We greatly appreciate that. So a like before you go on the show. Subscribe to our channel as well. Training camp starts next week, which means we're going to have a ton of content all over YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else from Titans practice coverage. So we'll see you guys tomorrow on a Friday. Appreciate it as always.